One of my favorite experiences in TTRPGs is facing the unknown. Going into an encounter and having to figure out what's happening and what the rules are on the fly. This is just something TTRPGs can handle particularly well. It can be especially fun to have a fight with a weird monster, and you're not quite sure what the rules are for fighting it, or it throws a weird curveball at you mid-fight, and you and your friends have to find a way to deal with it. At this point, I'm willing to say it's a semi-tradition that around Halloween I talk about one of my favorite homemade monsters. For a change this year, it's not one of my own creations, but one made by my friend Jeremy. I'll set the scene. We were playing a game of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and the party was about level 12 or so. We were exploring a strange dungeon, looking for some sort of magical MacGuffin. We enter a room that clearly looks like a makeshift lab, full of broken Magitech devices that we were all unfamiliar with. Someone was clearly down here performing experiments, but what kind? It is then that several mechanically enhanced zombies snap to life, each with a strange-looking device embedded in their chest with a glowing core. Roll for initiative. Anytime one of these zombies gets hit by an attack, the color of the core in its chest seems to change. Some attacks seem to be significantly more effective than others. After a few rounds of combat, and a bit of experimentation, we're able to figure out what's going on. Our suspicions are confirmed when our sorcerer casts Scorching Ray at one of the zombies. The first hit connects with full force and changes the zombie's core from yellow to red. The second attack seems to do less damage, and the core grows brighter. The third attack, a critical hit, bounces off the zombie entirely. In addition, the zombie with the brightly glowing core seems to get stronger and heal itself at the start of the turn. Now, this isn't the most overly complicated mechanic, but it was fun to figure out. When one of the zombies takes damage from a source, it becomes resistant to that damage type. If it takes the same type of damage again, it becomes immune to that damage type, and begins recovering up to a quarter of their HP at the start of their turn. If you hit a zombie with a new damage type, it resets back to only being resistant to that type. If it is hit by two damage types at the same time, it becomes resistant to both, but can only ever become immune to one at a time. This is also how we found out these were called elemental zombies, by the way. Once we figured out how they worked, we realized we were going to have to change up our usual tactics and start really working together if we wanted to survive the fight. What made this especially tricky for our group was our sorcerer had spec'd pretty hard into fire spells, and my character was wielding Flame Tongue, a large flaming sword. This ended up being a super fun encounter. We had to change up our tactics and come together to support each other if we really wanted to juggle these zombies and their resistances. We came together as a team, in a way we hadn't really done before, because we really didn't have to. This encounter worked out really well for our group, because we're all seasoned players who knew to look for little clues in combat, and because this wasn't the first encounter we had to figure out how to solve. If you're going to do an encounter like this for newer, less experienced players, I recommend making it extremely obvious that something is wrong and the players are going to need to change up their strategy, or starting with slightly easier encounters where they're going to have to do the same thing. For more experienced players, these type of encounters can harken back to an earlier time in everyone's TTRPG experience, before they knew a lot of the monster's tricks, where you figured out what a monster was capable of by having it happen to you. It can bring back a bit of that wonderful unknown. Thank you for joining us here today. We've seen a lot of support lately for the channel, and it's truly appreciated. If you have a suggestion for a topic you'd like to see us cover in the future, or just a question about TTRPGs in general, feel free to leave a comment, and have a happy Halloween.